Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, or good morning, depending on where you are. Thank you for joining us today for our MBAs of Impact event. Now, if this is your first time joining us, we started this series back in 2017. Purpose of the series is really to encourage, inspire, and have a forum where you can get your questions answered. What we've learned is that African Americans, Hispanics, and Native Americans are underrepresented in the business school classroom. And as you and I know, this country is moving towards a minority majority. So why not make sure that we have the voices at the table? We have a diverse conversation going on so that when we make laws, when we make changes to businesses, when we make new product developments, that it really reflects the rich diversity of our country overall. That's one of the things we want to do here. And we do it in this setting so that you can hear from people who have been down that path and actually achieved success. And so we have Nicole Kankam on with us today. She's the managing director over at the U.S. Tennis Association. And we're going to just have a conversation, talk more about her experience, and give you an opportunity to get your questions answered about what she does now, how she got to where she got to, what business school was like, what the application process was like, and whatever else comes to mind. So before we get started with Nicole, I want to do a few quick housekeeping things. So you're watching this on YouTube. As your questions come up, you can have a question right now that you already had before you even showed up. Type it into the comment section and we'll make sure that we address it after our conversation. So expect that we'll chat anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes, and then we'll save that last 15 to 20 minutes for you to answer any questions that you have. Okay? Great. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us this morning or this afternoon.
Thanks so much for having me.
Great. So I'm going to jump right in. Before you guys got on, we were having a great conversation, and so we'll just pick up where we left off. But just to get us started, what made you decide to go and get your MBA?
Well, I had decided I think for some period of time that I wanted to get an advanced degree. I come from, my parents had advanced degrees. My mom actually has her PhD, and she received her MBA from Kent State University. My father is a physician, so not in business, but education was really important in my family. And so I knew at some point that I wanted to go for that advanced degree. But I actually started my career in music. So it felt very different from what my parents wanted to do. I loved music. I played the piano growing up. I studied music business at DePaul University and then worked in the music industry after graduation. And I worked actually in the music industry during a really sort of critical turning point in the industry where the advent of technology. At the time, Napster was big in influencing the music industry. So people were downloading music and not purchasing music. And so the industry was going through a host of changes. And I realized at that time that I was probably going to need to make a shift in my career, probably not staying in the music industry. And that felt like the right time to pursue an MBA, to really allow myself to give me some optionality to pursue other career paths outside of music. And the MBA felt as the really great fit because I knew I wanted to stay in business, marketing, promotion is what I was doing for the music industry, but wanted to transition to other industries, perhaps consumer packaged goods or other areas of entertainment. And the MBA was going to be really afford me the opportunity to make that transition and give me a great foundation to move forward in my career.
So many people believe that in order to go to business school, you would have had to study business as an undergrad or have a lot of business specific experience. And so you had this career in music that was a little bit different. Did that help you at all or hinder you? But how were you able to package and present yourself so that you still I won't even say still, you were a great business school candidate.
I'd like to think so. Yes. Thank you. Thanks for saying that. And I will tell you that, yes, I was intimidated because even when you're going through that process of looking at different schools or talking to people in sort of the pre-application process, you can meet a lot of people that are very focused and entrenched in business, and it can be somewhat intimidating that you're not from that world. Again, my degree was in music business, so I did have the benefit of having taken some business classes as a part of the degree program. It's a major in the music school, so I had to study my core instrument, but I also took business courses in the business school. I went to DePaul University. But they were still sort of entry-level business courses, and I definitely didn't have the business acumen that some of my other peers did.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I felt that it was also an asset that I could sell because there's so many people in finance and so many people that are already in business that most MBA programs want to develop a diverse and multifaceted class each year. And so having everyone that has a finance background does not help them achieve that goal. So for me, I was able to sell that while I would be up to the challenge to embrace an MBA program because I had those business courses. I studied for the GMAT and again proved with my score that I was up to the task of applying myself to do well in the MBA program. I also was bringing a unique and diverse experience that was different from some of my peers. And I really made an effort to sort of bring that to light in my application. And then also being very clear on how the MBA was going to help me in my career goals post MBA. So, knowing that I wanted to transition from the music industry to another industry and develop brands and marketing, having an MBA that really was sort of the additional piece to help me on my career path and being able to articulate that in a compelling way, I think made me a viable candidate.
Awesome. And I feel like you dropped so many gems in that, in your response, and that is so many people don't know that only about 30% or so of the folks sitting in the business school classroom had an undergrad degree in business.
Mm-hmm.
And the admissions directors are looking to have a really diverse set of skills so that when you're having those conversations, business school is going to be so different from your undergrad experience in terms of the types of classes that you have, the type of work that you're doing. So that perspective is going to be really, really important. And then also, just want to piggyback on how you mentioned that one of the reasons that you got an MBA was to shift and make a transition. And it's a great degree if you're looking to transition into another industry and to another function. It can really take you places. So it's just through your experience, you spoke to so many of those things. So you mentioned the GMAT.
Yes.
When did you take the GMAT exam?
Yeah, it was a while ago. So
were you an undergrad when you took it?
No, so I had finished my undergrad program. I definitely had completed and graduated undergrad, but I took the course not that long, like probably within a year of me graduating from undergrad, I took the GMAT because again, I had sort of had the mindset that at some point I was going to go back and get my MBA, and felt that, while you're still sort of fresh in the mindset of studying and academia, and also being able to take the GMAT at a time that I wasn't applying so that I could devote my time and energy. I remember taking a course and really being able to study while I was working, but not also applying to business school. Yep. Sort of relieved the pressure a little bit and allowed me to relax and, like I said, be focused on it.
I promise Nicole does not work here. I did not prompt her to say any of this. But the good thing about it is that I tell candidates that all of the time. Everyone doesn't have that opportunity because you've already passed the graduation or being a few years out of undergrad, but we have data that shows like a graph of GMAT scores.
I didn't even know that.
The highest point are the people who take that exam 0 to 2 years out of undergrad for
Wow.
every reason that you said, because you're closer to study mode. You're not doing everything at once, getting your application together, studying for the GMAT exam. It just really puts you in a better position to get that score. So if you're someone who maybe you haven't decided when or you haven't decided where, but you just have an idea, like, I think I'm gonna make my way to business school, take the GMAT exam when you can. Even if you're beyond that 0 to 2 and you have a time to take it, to take the course or whatever it is that you're going to need to do to really get prepared, to just do it separately, it can really just take some of the press off of that application season.
I didn't know there was actually data to support that, but that makes sense. And that definitely was and it's good is it still good for 5 years?
Yep.
Yeah. So I figured that, yes, within 5 years, I was going to go to business school. And so I did it.
Yep.
It helped.
Awesome. Okay. So a lot of people think that, well, I've heard of certain organizations that are out there that can assist you or help you get ready for business school. So did you join any of them? I know that some people use them, some people don't. Just wanted to get your perspective on if you worked with any organizations on your way into business school.
Yeah, no, I am aware of those now. At the time when I was applying, and again, we're not going to say my age, right? So we're not talking about when I went to business school, but there weren't as many organizations available at that time. And I had friends, acquaintances, colleagues that were sort of in that circle that were able to provide a lot of insight. That being said, I think they're, taking advantage of any of the resources that are available to you now to just, again, have different perspectives, to hear different perspectives. I sort of created my own network of, people to give me advice on the process and how to navigate that. But, tapping into the formal networks, I think, is really key. And I will say that, I went through the Consortium for Graduate Study in Management. So I applied, I took advantage of the fellowship that, the full tuition fellowship that allowed me to go to Stern full-time, tuition free. So it's not that that helped me once I got into school, once I, got the fellowship, and they were immensely helpful. Even the summer before I went to Stern, just helping get me in the mindset of what I might expect going into business school. I mean, we were talking before the call about how important networking is to growing, your career and getting further in your career. And and how to package yourself when you're going for interviews, interviewing for internships or positions. The consortium did a lot of that preparation and help prior to me starting business school that summer before. So that was immensely helpful. And like I said, the other organizations I didn't take advantage of, but I definitely know of people that have leveraged them and have seen great benefit.
Awesome. To Nicole's point, take advantage if you can, but some organizations have certain requirements, and perhaps you don't meet them or you don't have time to invest in those. People get into business school without them as well. So leverage your resources as much as you can, but don't be discouraged if you aren't able to join up with one of these organizations. There's still a ton of information out there, and they're looking for qualified candidates like yourself to apply and be a part of those business school programs. Trust, there's money available.
Right.
So now you've gone to business school, and most people think, okay, business school, that's finance, Wall Street, that kind of thing. How did you navigate your way to and through the entertainment industry?
Well, again, NYU, I think, is a great school. I'm going to put a plug for NYU Stern because they provide a host of opportunities, whether it's even the coursework that they have in the program that are in the entertainment field, associations. Like there's this, I think now they've added sports. At the time, it was just entertainment, media. They have conferences as well. So while I was in school, sort of being exposed to the different aspects of business outside of finance, I had leaned towards marketing. And I have a passion for marketing, and I was kind of doing that in the music industry prior to school, and didn't heavily on that coursework while I was at school, but then going to conferences, talking with other people in the degree program to find out what's available in terms of organizations that might really value an MBA. The U.S. Tennis Association was one of those organizations that came to campus to recruit MBAs. And at the time, they were just building up the marketing team here at the USTA. The CEO at the time was actually a former Stern alum, and we had a couple other former MBA alums that, not from Stern, but from other top-tier schools, that were looking to recruit MBAs because they recognized the value of that degree and wanted to build out a marketing team that was very thoughtful and strategic in how they were going to grow and expand the U.S. Open tournament. And so I kind of, was fortunate that I was able to get the position, a full-time position, working here immediately after graduating from Stern, and have actually been here. We were just talking about this will be my 13th U.S. Open here at the U.S. Tennis Association. Now, I actually left the USTA and went to work for, of all places, World Wrestling Entertainment. And maybe we could talk about that a little bit later. Interesting stories about that experience, but came back to the USTA in this new role. And it goes back to the importance of your network and really growing and expanding your network to help you navigate the challenges. The reason I went to WWE is because I had maintained contact with my former boss who was at the USTA and left to go to World Wrestling Entertainment. And because we always stayed in contact and because we had a great relationship, that she brought me over there to join her team and stayed in contact, kept that professional network at the USTA and ended up coming back here. So it really has, my network has, and it's not just in entertainment. I think, I've really expanded a network through going to conferences, again, through the MBA program across all function areas. So entertainment, but also I have colleagues in marketing, in consumer packaged goods. I have friends still from the music industry, and it's helpful to have a network that provides diverse perspectives, because even someone going through a challenge working for a different industry can be applied towards work in entertainment.
Nice. And I want to just expound on your commentary around the network, because so many people don't realize or understand that aspect of business school and how important it is in developing that. So a lot of times when we talk about network, you think, oh, you go to a network event and you start networking, and perhaps Nicole is great at that. And maybe you are, but it goes even further than that, where many people think, I want to go on and get an advanced degree, an MBA. I want to move up in my career or transition into another industry. And as long as I have MBA, the credentials, then it's fine. Where yes and no, who you're sitting next to really matters. Those alumni cohorts are really important, and the classmates that you meet in your class while you're going through your programs are going to be pivotal to your success. And that is a really, really important part of the MBA experience that many people don't know about. So I'm glad that you spoke on that, and that was able to take you many places and to many different organizations throughout your career. And you wouldn't have been able to get that just going anywhere.
No, it's so true. It's really important. And you mentioned about, whether I was good at networking, and I can admit I'm not one of those people that are, a born networker, and that I go to events and immediately, I know everybody, and it's something that I've had to work on over time. I think, the follow-up, sending thank you notes to people that you meet in passing that you think might be worthwhile staying in touch with. I try to be really good about sending follow-up emails, and then also thinking about how you might be able to help that person or add value to them. Because I think, with networking, sometimes people can sense that if you're just all about networking and you're just thinking about what you can get from that person, it doesn't feel as genuine, and people aren't as apt to help you, at the onset. But I think if you think about like, well, what value can I offer to them, or what can I, is there an interesting article that I read that I think they might find interesting because I know that this is their field of study or this is what they're interested. I've created Google alerts around people that I want to stay in touch with, and when they're in the news, I might shoot them a note like, "Oh, I saw that you're doing this amazing thing." So it's little things like that
Yeah.
you don't have to be a master networker, but if you show really great follow through and a politeness with folks, that I think people respect that. And it's those things that can mean, the difference between your next job.
Yeah. I want to move on, but I want to go back to one more thing you said. You were talking about how at Stern you were able to connect with the tennis association through the school itself. Now, last year I had a director on from TV1, and she went to, I can't remember where she went, Booth or Kellogg, one of those.
Okay.
And she was saying that because she wanted to be in entertainment, she had to do a lot of her own work as it relates to making those connections with that field.
Yeah.
Was one of the reasons you chose Stern because they had those connections within the field or the industry you were trying to get into?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, being in New York, I think definitely makes it a little bit easier because so many of the companies are still here in New York. I mean, I even occasionally go back to Stern to speak to the class, and we definitely had, and it's easy for me to, because I'm right here in the city. So the schools are able to foster those relationships just due to proximity. So that definitely helps. That being said, and the USTA, I think, is probably a unique example in that they came and they posted a job, and I was able to, at that time, leverage my experience in the music industry and show the transferable skills. So it helped. But I think, especially for people that maybe have no entertainment experience at all, it is a lot of developing those relationships outside. But I think, again, more and more schools are recognizing that, one, these are career paths that people are interested in, and the companies themselves are valuing the MBA and valuing the degree, so they're wanting to come to schools to recruit and bring in. So I think we're seeing more shifts. As a matter of fact, I think even sports business journals, like 40 under 40 class recently has increased number of MBAs on their class. So more and more people are becoming exposed to, like, yes, this really is a degree that's going to help us if especially industries like, television and music are looking to make shift and take advantage of technology and be innovative in the area of business. Having someone with that sort of advanced degree is going to help get them there.
Yep. So do your research, folks, and think about where you want to go. And you can find that information online, the schools or the companies that recruit at each school. So try and figure out your end goal as much as you can. You might not have it all figured out, but maybe even if you know the industry or have an idea of the direction you want to go in, and some companies that are, in that lane, do your research and try and set yourself up for success.
And I would say, look, I didn't have all the answers when I started my business school. You couldn't have told me when I started at Stern that I was going to be working at the U.S. Tennis Association, because that wasn't a specific defined goal for me. I tried to meet with a lot of different marketing professionals across different industries, and just to be exposed on, what am I passionate about? I think like you said, do your research and understand where the opportunities are, but then understand where your passion is, and to be able to really speak articulately about how the value you can bring to a company, what you're learning at an MBA program, and how that can be, make a significant impact on an organization, and be able to really communicate that. I think that's what companies are really appealed to, and that's what can make you stand out for sure.
Cool. So we're getting closer to our time, but what's the coolest part of your job? Like, tell us more about what you do on a day-to-day basis and what you like most.
So I oversee, because I don't know if we said that in the beginning. So I oversee the advertising marketing, all pro tennis marketing for the U.S. Tennis Association. So the U.S. Open is the biggest event. We attract over 800,000 people to our facility over the 3 weeks of our event. It's one of 4 major tennis Grand Slams in the world. So it happens at the end of August. But I also oversee other tennis events. So there's the U.S. Open Series, there's Davis Cup and Fed Cup. And my role is basically focused on the brand, the U.S. Open brand. We actually I led the effort to launch a whole new logo, visual identity for the U.S. Open that we launched last year in support of the 50th anniversary of the U.S. Open. And I develop advertising, marketing campaigns to drive ticket sales. So to get people to come on site and experience our events, to drive overall fan engagement and excitement around the U.S. Open and our other tennis events. And especially the U.S. Open, I mean, if you're in New York and you've lived here for any length of time, even if you haven't been to the U.S. Open, you sort of know of it because it really is sort of an iconic New York City happening. And it's fun to be able to develop creative campaigns that are really part of like the fabric of New York City, and that people are excited. You come on site to the US Open, even if you're not a tennis fan, when you come and experience the event, it really is an event unlike anything else. There's all different kinds of food. It's not like your typical stadium fare food. We've got lobster rolls, we've got great drinks, there's shopping there, and then you can see, some of the biggest tennis stars in the world, like Serena Williams. Now, I'm not hanging out with Serena Williams, so don't get it twisted.
I was gonna ask who.
No, we're not best.
You met anyone?
But I have met a lot of the tennis players. We've done ad shoots with them in the past. And so that has been cool and interesting. But it's really fun to kind of, like I said, work on a product that has such high visibility and that people have a personal connection with. And to kind of, work all year long and then have this great culmination in late August is a lot of fun.
Awesome. Have you, did you have any role models? Was there like anyone that you know?
Yeah, I mentioned, because I will say in sports, there are a lot of women. There definitely aren't a lot of women of color, although we had our first African-American female CEO president, Katrina Adams. She actually, because it's only supposed to be a 2-year term with the U.S. Tennis Association, and she actually, in a rare occurrence, had 2 terms. So she served for 4 years, and she just stepped down at the end of last year. But she, and it's great. She was a former player and did not have a formal business background, but really stepped into the role confidently and embraced sort of, being, again, the first player, the first former player, first African-American woman, and assumed that role. And I think in every room, every meeting I was in with her, took on a commanding presence and a confidence that was definitely inspiring for me during my time here at the U.S. Tennis Association. And then there have been other women that have served as mentors and role models. I mentioned the woman who is now actually the co-president of the WWE that was at the USTA and went there and took me, and she still continues to be a mentor and offer advice. You've got to be tough, I think, specifically in sports industry, but she has been able to sort of balance that toughness, but command respect from everyone that she works with, which is inspiring for sure.
Nice. Last thing before we get into some questions, what are you most proud of?
Well, every day I feel like I have been able to stay true to myself here at the USTA. I mean, it's tough because you can imagine that there's certain perceptions of tennis as a sport and how it treats underrepresented minorities. But here at the USTA, we are definitely encouraging diversity and inclusion. I feel like I can be my true self every day, which it's great to be involved with an organization that respects that. That being said, I mentioned that we just launched a new logo identity last year, and I led the effort to basically develop a whole new logo for the US Open that actually just received, if you're in this marketing world, Clio is like the preeminent marketing award that you can receive. And so the logo received a silver Clio. It was just announced a couple weeks ago. So that was exciting to, again, be directly responsible for that award. And the US Open just received the Sports Business Journal Event of the Year. And that's, even though we like to think we're the event of the year every year,
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen. I mean, we're competing with, the Super Bowl and All-Star Game and a host of other high-profile events. And we came out and won. And we just won the award last week. So that was exciting, something to be proud of.
Congratulations to you. Are you going to try and sit any of them in your office? So
yes, I know, right? Yes, I'm gonna have to make a trophy case for our awards.
Okay, let's get into some questions. We have a couple questions, so please, we got about 13 minutes left. Any questions that come up, ask. So let's see. If you have an undergraduate degree in a completely different field from an MBA, what advice can you give? I think you've shared, about your experience, but as far as specific advice for people like yourself.
Yeah, I did have the benefit. So I had a music business degree, so I had taken some business courses. I mean, if there's an opportunity for you to take another course in any area of business that you think you might be deficient during the application process, I would attempt that. I also, I had a number of internships in undergrad that were in entertainment, at companies that I could speak to my experience there that helped sort of round out my application. So whatever experience, and it's also too about positioning. I mean, your degree might be completely different, but I guarantee there's something that you learned within your degree program that can be applicable to a business, whether it's, you need someone with strong analytical experience, strong strategic thinking skills. Like, play up those skills that you've used in other aspects of your undergrad and have that be the focal point that you're bringing value to an MBA classroom.
Awesome. So there's a question, a very specific question for you. There's a person who studied music in undergrad and grad school and currently applying to MBA programs. Do you have any advice for someone coming from?
Yep. Well, and I think you want to be thoughtful about why are you getting the MBA and what are you hoping to get post graduate degree. So if you're looking to stay in the music industry, and again, for me, at the time I was looking to transition away from the music industry because it felt like there weren't opportunities for me to grow. But I think now the music industry is sort of shifted, and you might decide that you want to stay in the music industry, and an MBA will be a complement to your music degree. If you're looking to transition to another industry, I think you just need to be able to articulate how this MBA will help you get to your career goals and be able to communicate a compelling story. Look at the music degrees as some kind of asset that can ultimately help you get to your career path.
Thank you. I don't know if you have this insight, but if you do, there's For someone who wants to switch industries to the music industry, are you familiar with the types of roles that would be available to someone who had just obtained their MBA?
Yeah. Well, I think there are still, like I said, the music industry is sort of making shifts and wanting to rely more on analytics and data. I actually know people that I worked with in the music industry that are now more focused on like 360 branding. So you might work at a record label for a certain artist, but they're not just looking at their music brand, but like how they are as a 360 brand and helping them tap into merchandise deals or concert promotion deals. And a lot of times within the music industry, they need a strong marketer, someone in business development that can help them really craft an appropriate brand. But their talent relies in music. Finance is still, if you're interested in financial accounting or financial planning and analysis, the music industry still needs those roles. So I would look at the music industry as very similar to other businesses, and that there are many different facets of business where they need a strong strategic marketer or a brand person to help them fill those roles.
Yep. And to Nicole's point, transferable skills, they just matter so much. And even data analytics, with everything being in the virtual space, those things matter when it comes to social engagement. And, those things are going to be in demand, and I can't see that changing. I would imagine it will just continue to grow. So there could be more opportunities that continue to open, in that regard. But if that's something that going into it, that's your desired destination, there are so many things that you could do now to put yourself in a really good position by the time you were coming out of your program.
Yep.
So we have someone who is going to Stern in the fall, from a non-traditional background, interested in seeing if you have any advice on what they could do between now and then to just get prepared for BC.
I would enjoy the summer, relax. You're going to be inundated with so much once you get into school. And I remember there were a number of events where you just got to know some of your soon-to-be classmates in the summer, especially if you're going to be in New York. That would be what I would probably focus the most on, is like any opportunity to get to know and develop social networks with some of your potential classmates. Because, like we've talked about at length, your professional network and the network you develop while you're in school is just as important as what you're studying and what you're learning. And so that's actually what I would probably focus on most and enjoy, because it will go by so quickly, the 2 years, once you're there.
Question for you. We have one more question here. If you have another one, we got a few minutes left. Do you have like a standout moment from B school, like something that just really stands out in your mind, either good or bad?
Yeah.
You can share with us.
No, I don't know if I should say this, but no, we went to Brazil while I was there. I did one of the like MBA spring break treks, and it probably wasn't as it wasn't a professional trek, but it was such a great experience. It was a great bonding experience with my classmates. I had a ball. It was probably, I'm not able to take one of those carefree vacations now that I'm working. So that was a lot of fun.
And I love that you shared that. I have not had one person on that did not talk about some trip they took out of the country during their time in business school. Again, these are the opportunities that are available to you that, come by way of that experience that people just don't know about. So, the friendships that you make, the experiences that you have, the places that you go, all of those really wrap into the B school experience. So you're spending money, right?
Right.
Yeah. I haven't met anyone yet that didn't feel like they got their return on their investment.
Exactly. And you never regret it, for sure.
Awesome. So while we're talking about data analytics, someone has asked, how does data analytics play into your role
Right. Yeah.
in strategic planning at the US Open?
Yeah, no, great question, because I think people do a lot of times think like, oh, marketing, it's all about creative, and we make a lot of like flashy TV videos, and we do some of that, but analytics is really important. Particularly, a lot of the advertising that we do to drive ticket sales for the US Open is digital, and so we're able to track direct conversions from the digital ads that people are seeing, and what the conversion and digital ads on like your mobile devices and social media. We've got tracking in place so that we can see how effective all that marketing is, and what channels are more effective than others, what types of creative is more effective than others. The US Open is such a multifaceted event that we pull a lot of different levers when we're marketing. So yes, Serena Williams is a big draw, but like I mentioned, all the different food options, or the fact that there's entertainment there. So we've developed different creative and put tracking mechanisms in place, particularly in digital, to be able to see what works well and what doesn't. And we have such a constricted window of time that we're marketing the US Open, that on a weekly basis, we're looking at data of all those campaigns to see what's working well, and we'll make shifts, optimize those campaigns so that we're as efficient as possible in the dollars that we're spending to market that. So analytics is a big piece of what we're doing. And now, again, you just can track everything. It's kind of creepy sometimes, but I know to fans that are online, if you're a tennis fan, if you like a certain type of event, if you like going because you've come to the US Open, it's your annual tradition. And so we'll deliver different types of creative that speak to all that and can track it on a precise level to see just how effective it is.
So very much so is the answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pivotal, really,
really
as it relates to marketing in this day and age.
Absolutely.
So with that, we don't have any more questions, but this was awesome. I do a lot of things. I go to events and we work on marketing campaigns, and I talk with candidates and do presentations of all of that. This is the most exciting part of my job, talking to folks like you, and just really giving candidates who are thinking about business school some inspiration and some tangible insight from folks who have not only done it, but done it well. So cheers to you. Congrats on all your success.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for spending this time with us this afternoon.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Folks, that's it for us. We'll have a few more of these events throughout the year, so please stay tuned. Best of luck to you. Don't limit yourselves. You got this, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.